Welcome to Blocked Ports, a network security podcast bringing you the latest in security and networking news on a variety of computing platforms.
Welcome to this 8th episode of Blocked Ports, and thanks for listening. We'll start this week with an update to a story we covered previously, as well as some Microsoft news. In a few moments, we'll cover the latest in hacking and other security issues. You may remember hearing about the Wolodeck botnet earlier this year. The notorious botnet, which at its peak infected around 64,000 computers, was finally taken down in an effort led by Microsoft. The company filed a restraining order to block 276 domains that pushed malware via the Wolodeck botnet, a move that severely crippled its operation. In July, Microsoft filed a legal motion asking for complete control of the domains in question because the defendants have not come forward to claim ownership. The company presented evidence showing the owners of the domains attempted denial of service attacks against the law firm filing the suit and even threatened one of the researchers involved in the case. Due to this evidence, a Virginia District Court judge will recommend the court rule in favor of Microsoft. The defendants have 14 days to object, which is unlikely given the circumstances. Meanwhile, Microsoft will focus on cleaning up computers infected with the Wolodeck malware. They've created a website to help those affected clean their computers. Check out the show notes at blockports.com for a link to the site as well as a link to Microsoft's official blog on the topic. Microsoft issued a security advisor regarding web applications built on ASP.NET. An unpatched vulnerability could allow attackers to view data encrypted by the target server or to read data from files on the server. Attackers could then tamper with the data, send it back to an affected server, and observe the error code it returns. Experts are concerned about the impact of the vulnerability because so many applications are built on the ASP.NET framework. Microsoft is working on an update to fix the vulnerability. Meanwhile, there is a workaround posted in the security advisory. Visit the show notes at blockports.com for a link. Small businesses with up to 10 PCs can now use Microsoft's free Security Essential malware protection software. Until now, only consumers had access to the free antivirus software, but licenses for small businesses will be available this month. The software provides basic antivirus protection and may be ideal for small businesses without dedicated IT staff. Security Essentials can be downloaded directly. See the show notes for a link. Also in the show notes is a link to a company blog with more information about the product and how it applies to small businesses. In an earlier episode, we reported on the privacy concerns of Google's Street View mapping service. The feature takes street-level photographs to offer 360-degree views of map locations. Google is under scrutiny by several U.S. states and some European countries like France and Germany after the company admitted its photo-taking vehicles inadvertently harvested personal data from unsecure wireless networks. In the latest development, the Czech Republic has banned Google Street View service. Authorities there claim Google is invading privacy by using cameras that can photograph more than the ordinary sight from a street. Czech authorities say dozens of people have complained about pictures of the interiors of homes, shots of private property beyond fences, and photos of people engaged in private activities. Just days earlier, Germany urged internet companies to draw up data protection codes due to concerns about the service. Google had intended to go live with Street View maps of 20 German cities in November. They have since extended the deadline for citizens to opt out until October 15th. Google and its Street View service remains under investigation. For the second time in 2 weeks, Adobe issued an emergency update to address another critical security flaw. This time, the affected software is Flash Player. The vulnerability affects Flash versions on Windows, Mac, Linux, and Solaris, as well as the Android. Adobe posted an update security bulletin on the issue and has several updated versions of the software available for download. The company plans to release more fixes for different versions of Flash and Reader this week. For links to this advisory and download sites, please see the show notes at blockports.com. Google is warning its Gmail customers about widespread attempts to access personal mail accounts from web addresses in China. The attacks could be merely random or signal wholesale spying by the Chinese government. The automated warnings appear when users log into their Gmail. A red banner alerts the user that their account has been accessed recently from China and lists the IP addresses used. The warning suggests users immediately change their passwords. There doesn't seem to be a pattern to the attacks, though one target is a privacy rights activist in the UK known for its outspoken opinions on China's censorship of its citizens. Those targeted include media consultants, doctors, and gamers from the US, Canada, Colombia, and some European countries, but most people targeted had no clear ties to China. Experts have detected a new round of attacks similar to the Aurora attacks that Google reported in January, though it's not clear if the email hacks are related. Twitter was hit by 2 attacks in recent weeks. The first, a cross-site scripting or XSS attack, took advantage of a mouse rollover vulnerability. The on-mouse over function in JavaScript allows code to be executed by simply moving your mouse over some text. The attack redirected users to a porn site based in Japan, but experts say it could be worse. Users could be directed to sites distributing malware or to phishing sites. Twitter quickly patched the vulnerability hours after it surfaced. Less than a week later, Twitter was hit again by a hack that spread vulgar messages from affected users' accounts. The worm would appear in a post that read WTF with a link. Users clicking on the link were sent to a site that appeared blank but contained around 15 lines of code. This code used a cross-site request forgery technique to post a crude message from the user's account and also to spread the link via Twitter. Even high-profile Twitter users fell victim to the prank, clicking on the link after it was posted by trusted friends. The exploit was fixed and the attack appears to be just a prank, but experts warned that it could easily have been used to propagate malicious code. A bug in the Linux kernel resurfaced and has since been purged again from the operating system. The vulnerability allowed unprivileged users to gain full root access. It was first discovered and fixed in 2007, but along the way the change was inadvertently rolled back by developers, leaving the operating system open to attacks again. The bug can only be exploited by users with a valid account on the targeted machine, but it still caused concern due to the corporate, government, and educational environments that rely on the Linux operating system. After a 2-week break, spammers are once again using what appear to be stolen emails as templates to send out millions of new messages. The plug-and-play malware campaigns spoof major brands like eBay, Facebook, and Amazon. The messages trick users into clicking a link within the message or in an attachment. In a matter of seconds, multiple exploits can silently infect the user's computer. The technique is similar to the recently reported Here You Have virus, but is much more destructive. For more insight on both attacks, see the Red Condor Security blog. Check out the show notes at blockports.com for a link. The Stuxnet worm continues to make news. The worm surfaced about a year ago, and while the exact target is still not clear, security experts agree that Stuxnet is one of the most sophisticated pieces of malware seen to date. The malware attacked vulnerabilities in Microsoft and Siemens SCADA systems around the world. It's believed to be the first malware to attack real-world critical infrastructure, including water plants and nuclear power stations. Researchers say Stuxnet is backed by a well-funded and highly skilled team and may be a prototype of a cyber weapon. The intent of the malware isn't to steal money or data, but rather to sabotage critical industrial systems, which has experts on heightened alert. A security researcher has found a potentially crippling vulnerability in another high-profile botnet. Billy Rios found a flaw in the Zeus botnet, which is one of the most widely used botnet toolkits. His finding could make takedowns much easier for authorities and rival crime gangs. The vulnerability makes it simple to hijack the command and control channels that are used to send instructions and updates to infected computers. There are often hundreds of thousands of compromised computers. Thousands or even tens of thousands of botnets are spawned from Zeus, and most are susceptible to the flaw. Rios speculates the bug cannot be quickly fixed by the botnet's developers, and also that the vulnerability may be an intentional backdoor designed by the developers. While the vulnerability makes it easier for law enforcement to take over a huge number of botnets, it also leaves the door open for those with malicious intentions to exploit the bug and gain control of more infected computers. Check out the show notes at blockports.com for a link to Rio's complete findings. In light of all the zero-day vulnerability attacks on targets like Microsoft and Adobe, a recent study reveals that more than half the software regularly used by businesses isn't meeting acceptable security levels. The study was conducted by the code analysis firm Veracode. They analyzed 2,900 applications commonly used by businesses. Among the least secure were third-party applications where suppliers failed to achieve acceptable levels of security 81% of the time. This raises concerns as businesses rely on third-party applications for a large percentage of their critical software. The study found that 8 out of 10 web applications failed to meet the OWASP Top 10 requirement, which is necessary to gain PCI DSS compliance. The OWASP, or Open Web Application Security Project, provides a list of the most critical web application security flaws. It's available for download in PDF format. See the show notes at blockports.com for a link. Experts advise that until third-party software providers are required to prove that their code is secure, businesses should take steps to protect themselves. Businesses should check into software suppliers and make sure the software is proven to be free of at least the top vulnerabilities or that it at least conforms to the PCI DSS requirements. See the show notes at blockports.com for a link to download the complete study. PCI Security Standards Council recently revealed the new DSS standard to card brand representatives and other community members. As predicted, there are no major changes to the standard. Version 2.0 of the DSS incorporates feedback received from vendors and gives more guidance and clarification regarding the requirements already in place. Here are a few of the highlights. There will be explicit consideration given to virtual machines and virtualization hypervisors as in scope during PCI audits. Also, the definition of system components now include virtual systems. Sampling requirements will be more detailed. The sampling methodology used in an assessment must also be justified as sufficient. There will be more requirements to secure the primary account number or PAN if hashing and truncation are used in the same environment, to reduce the possibility that full account numbers can be reconstructed. Internal and web applications are merged together in a revamped Requirement 6. So far, an automated DLP solution isn't required for scoping and data discovery, though the standard recommends that such tools should be used where appropriate. Other clarifications exist throughout the standard, and there are no major changes to existing requirements. The new DSS is scheduled for release at the end of this month and will be effective in January. That wraps up this episode of Block Ports. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check out the show notes at blockports.com for more information and links mentioned in the podcast.
Blocked Ports is brought to you by Ron McCarty, a freelance writer and consultant specializing in systems, network, and information security. Ron is the founder and CEO of Your NetGuard, an IT services company located in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.